Everyone, bonjour à tous et à toutes, and thank you for being with us today. We're super happy to be finally having our event today and happy to have you with us. My name is Susan Marin, and I am the Business Development Manager with Venture Niagara and facilitator for this event. Deirdre Furr from Fair Finance Fund will share the land acknowledgement.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Susan. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen here that has our kind of official land acknowledgement on it. We like to put it there just so that people can see our full land acknowledgement, but we generally don't read it out fully. This is for reference for anyone who would like to see. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the territories that I specifically am on at the moment, which is I'm near Oshawa, so that's the traditional territories of the Scugog Island First Nations people. And just taking a moment to recognize how grateful we are to be able to be here today and communicate like we are, and to, here I'm gonna also share my screen fully. And just to be able to share this information that we're coming to you all with today, and how lucky we are. And not only that, but also the materials that we are using, such as our computers, our internet, our lights, our heating, all those kinds of things. These things that we're privileged enough to be able to have in our lives, the resources that they come from are often from traditional territories throughout the world. So taking a moment to recognize that. I don't think my slide is showing properly, but that is okay. And yeah, just wanting to take a moment to recognize how grateful we are to be here, convening in this space. All of us are across Ontario as well, so many islands and territories across Ontario that we are grateful to be able to inhabit during this time.
Thank you, Deirdre. I really appreciate that. It's always heartwarming. I would like to offer a warm welcome to everyone on the call and to thank our partners at Fair Finance Fund, Project Manager Sally Miller, Marketing and Communications Coordinator Jessica Cherry, Social Finance Coordinator and Fair Finance Fund, Deirdre Furr, who will be presenting on behalf of Fair Finance Fund. We have a great turnout for this event, and I see that the registrants include a variety of businesses, farms, and wineries, some community futures offices as well, the region of Niagara, as well as representation from OMAFRA. We're happy to welcome a number of associations such as Flowers Canada Ontario, Ontario Federation of Agriculture, the Grape Growers of Ontario, and a few municipalities. So thank you all and welcome. I'm confident that you will find the information very useful. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't give you a little insight about Venture Niagara. We're a bilingual office funded by FedDev Ontario, and we are one of 61 not-for-profit community futures development corporations in the province of Ontario. We are an established lender assisting startups and existing businesses since 1985. We provide business financing and business advisory services and carry out community economic development projects across the Niagara region. We are governed by a great volunteer board of directors and our general manager, Mr. Frank Rupsik, who is also on the call today. Examples of community economic development projects include the Niagara Tourism Network, which is an organization of grassroots tourism colleagues who meet to encourage partnerships, business development, and networking opportunities. We've been meeting monthly for 12 years. There's no fee to join, and we have a great exchange at those meetings. In addition to community economic development, we are also very active in financing of Niagara-based businesses. Venture Niagara provides financing options for Niagara's businesses, and with our ongoing discussions with Fair Finance Fund staff in the past few months, I'm proud to say that we are excited to share more about Fair Finance Fund through today's webinar. We'll get right down to business and hear from our presenters, Volker Lotfering, Business Loans Officer for Venture Niagara, and Dee Fur, Social Finance Coordinator for Fair Finance Fund. And then we'll go into the Q&A period. So it's kind of a quick session, but I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it. You can write your questions in the chat as the meeting is going on so that it's fresh on your mind, and we'll get to them at the end of the two presentations. So be sure to clarify if your question is for Volker, V-O-L-K-E-R, or D, Venture, or you can say Venture Niagara, or the question is for Fair Finance Fund. Note that everyone will be muted during the presentations, but don't forget to unmute if we need clarification on your question, and we'll call on you. So I'd like to thank Jessica Cherry, who will be managing the Q&A, and she's really helped us a lot get prepared with all our presentations. So thank you to Jessica. We really appreciate it. So contact information for Volker and Dee will be on the slides so that you can also follow up with either of the presenters after the meeting. However, you can also go to ventureniagara.com or fairfinancefund.org for more information. So a little bit about our presenters. Volker Lotfering is the Business Loans Officer at Venture Niagara, Community Futures Development Corporation, and an expert on business loans and financing, as well as business advisory services. His professional background includes banker, sales and marketing manager, and international business development specialist. He worked in various industry verticals throughout his career, including manufacturing, distribution, retail, information technology services, market research, and financing. I'll present Dee as well. She is the Social Finance Coordinator with Fair Finance Fund. She has worked for the last several years as an analyst within the financial sector and previously in a range of roles in government and banking institutions. Her additional background in event organization for sustainable business projects spurred a strong passion for supporting social entrepreneurs, focusing on the triple bottom line and developing a regenerative future. So let's start with Volker, who will provide an overview of Venture Niagara's loan products and the services that we offer. Go ahead, Volker. I'm sure you'll share your screen.
Yes, all right. Sue, thanks so much for this wonderful presentation. I'm so excited to be in this webinar to share the information about Venture Niagara and our lending services, as well as hearing about the Fair Finance Fund and how we can help the Niagara businesses and regions in the agri-food sector. So in our webinar today, my focus is on the Venture Niagara services, and I'll hop right in. We are a nonprofit community futures office, and Sue already mentioned we've been around since 1985. We service all of the Niagara region besides the West Lincoln. Our office in Cayuga, the Grand Erie office services that municipality. But we are one of 60 community futures officers here in Ontario and 267 across Canada. We are in the rural areas, and I think we have 2 or 3 general managers from other CFs in Ontario joining us on the webinar today. As I mentioned, we cover most of Niagara, actually 11 of the 12 municipalities. We provide startup financing and financing to existing businesses who are expanding. We provide financing to all types of sectors and industries, not just the agri-food enterprises, but have a focus to do that. And it is from farms all the way to, I think we have some breweries and wineries on the call today. Food manufacturers and processors, as well as producers. We provide financing for equipment, inventory, leasehold, improvements, operating capital. So anything you can really think about it. The only thing we don't really do is refinancing of existing debt. but all of the startup costs can be included as well as expansion costs. We have a self-sustainable investment fund offering flexible repayment financing. We do provide business advisory services, and we have, I think, a couple of our partners. The enterprise centers are on these calls, so we work with the ecosystem in Niagara. We do business plan reviews. We do periodic one-on-one consultations with clients or with people who are just inquiring of what's out there as help. We do the application review, and I'll have a little bit later a little overview of how the whole process of intake to financing is. We'll do workshops and presentations, just like you see in the screenshot here, where we were at our partner Innovate Niagara and presented our What Lenders Are Looking For presentation. And we do referrals to those community partners. Some of the community partners we work with are listed here. We do loan referrals, not only advisory referrals, but loan referrals. So work very closely with the BDC, with the local banks and credit unions, and are excited to now share those services and partnerships in financing with Fair Finance Fund. We refer a lot of business advisory services and provide the expertise. So as I mentioned, the enterprise centers, and I think Dean from the Niagara Falls office is on this call. We work with Innovate, Spark Innovation in Niagara. Brock Link just did a presentation there yesterday. And the Niagara Angel Network actually is in our office as well located. So we share resources and work closely and do a lot of referrals, as I mentioned. Some numbers all around us. So actually, I don't know if it was just a coincidence, but about a year ago, we did a table talk with the enterprise centers together and OMAFRA. And Aaron Panic of OMAFRA is on this call too. So hi, Aaron. Good to have you on this too. And we did already a bringing together Niagara food entrepreneurs. So that was a year ago. So it's nice kind of that we follow up this now. Offering more financing options to these entities. But overall, like just for an overview, last year or in the year 20 or fiscal year 21-22, we had a total of 844 client interactions. Of that, we presented workshop seminars to about 258 participants, fielded about 169 general inquiries. So the first contacts had 308 in-depth discussions with non-clients and 109 discussions with in-depth discussions with existing clients. So our office is quite busy, and we saw a real uptake of inquiries about starting their small businesses when we had the opening after the pandemic. Just a little highlights of our portfolio. So by mid last year, we have had about 181 loans in our portfolio, which represents 7.2 million in financing out in our business community in Niagara. Of that, 83 were regular loans, so our normal investment fund financing, which we provide at almost 3.3 million. And then we also provided during the pandemic what's called the RRF or CEBA-like loans, the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund loans. And we provided 98 of those and some top-ups, and which was the equivalent to the CEBA loans the banks and credit unions provided, but more towards sole proprietors who couldn't apply to the banks and credit unions. And based on that, we actually provided almost 4 million in financing in less than a year and a half. Few more numbers over the years since 2009, since we actually work or have our contract with FedDev Ontario. Some of our loan portfolio. So you see that we started out 2009 with about 36 loans. Grew that till the year 2019, 2020 to about 87. And then with the CEBA-like loans, we hit almost the 200 mark and hovering around that. So are happy to provide this financing, especially also the CEBA financing to the struggling business during COVID. Just the last little pie chart or chart and to share, this is a little breakdown of where our loans are located. So the majority are in Niagara Falls and St. Catharines, but we also have a number in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and that's actually a lot of the SEBA related loans for bed and breakfasts and some other agricultural businesses like wineries. And then also in Welland, where we originated first in 1985. So we have a traditionally stronghold there. But you can see all throughout Niagara, we provide financing. A little overview of some Agri-Food clients, past and current. And you'll see some wineries, some breweries. I know we have some breweries on here and some wineries on this call, which is great. Some food processors, and one of the clients we actually have on the call today is Jess Bretzlaff from the Bagel Oven right here in Thorold. Great story how she started out at the synagogue in St. Catharines, moved to a co-shared kitchen in Beamsville, and now started her own location in Thorold. So a great overview, and I think these next two examples are not actually based on agri-food companies, but we thought we share some great success stories. So one somewhat agriculture, but more outdoors related is Live Target Copper's fishing lures. Grant Coppers back in 2007 started his business Live Target and grew it into a multi-million-dollar sales across North America business. Did a lot of R&D and to create his lifelike fishing lures, and we helped him with several loans, lines of credit to grow his business along with partners like the BDC. And in 2021, he was actually bought out by a Norwegian company who is one of the top businesses in fishing lures and fishing hooks. And so a great story of one of those unicorn stories, right? Of businesses who make it all the way from maybe in the garage to being sold and traded online. And the next one is a little known company right here in Niagara called, used to be called Landlord Web Solutions, started out here in Thorold in 2010. Jason Leonard and David Koski were the founders, and they carved out a niche space in the online marketing and data syndication for multi-unit rental housing. So in the rental housing space, advertising so that landlords can find tenants, all right? And they have a software tool, and they started out with, or were about 20 staff in 2018 when they moved from Thorold to their Merritt Street location. And now they rebranded to be are called RentSync, and they're actually within the top 100 of the Canadian Growth 500 list and employing 95 staff and growing. And one of the reasons why they're growing is actually because of the GO train coming down to Niagara on a regular basis. That's why they located to the location on Merritt Street, because there might be a GO train stop, I think, between Niagara College and Brock University. So a few more slides, and then I'm almost done. A little bit about our application components. A lot of people who applied for loans before will know this. I won't go into the details because I can speak about just this slide for about 2 hours or more. But it is just the basics of the 5 C's of credit, right? Character. So anyone who applies, we want to see or learn about you. Why are you the right person to start this business or have this business? We want to see business plan. And again, the Enterprise Center we work closely with, they provide that service. The normal credit checks are done, things like that, looking at your financials personally and business financials. We'll look at the capital and capacity. So what capital do you have to invest, and see what other sources are there. Then the capacity for repayment. So, we always say the best capacity is generate sales and have good margins, and then the banker is all happy. Then the conditions and terms around your financing. Everyone asks about interest rates, especially these times that it's has increased. But a lot of the times it's also good to know, and more important, what are the fees around it? What do I have to pledge as security? Is the financing open? Can I pay it back early without any prepayment penalties? Things like that. And then, of course, we'll look at collateral. Some of the lower financing is done unsecured if credit and financials look good. Otherwise, we do look at security all the way from liens against maybe equipment, all the way to maybe a mortgage charge against the property. The process of an application, or how our life cycle of clients is that we get an inquiry, mostly through our website or from online or through our partners, like I said, enterprise centers, Innovate, Spark, the incubators in Niagara, or even the BDC. And then we have a discovery meeting, mostly via Zoom. Learn about the business, inform the potential applicant about how our process works. Then we receive the application, all the documentation. We assess that here in-house. Myself and our general manager prepare a report if we see that it's a feasible application, and we present that to our board's loan committee. So our volunteers are all either retired business owners, current business owners. There's business economic development officers in there, retired bankers. So everyone who has a vested interest to help small businesses and businesses in Niagara. If the loan committee is happy with everything, they're our yay and naysayers, then we'll provide an offer to finance. If that is accepted by the client, we'll prepare all the legal documentation. For smaller amounts, we do it all in-house. For larger ones where we have to do security registrations, we hand that over to our lawyer, and then the legal process is done. And once the money is dispersed, we ask or stay in contact with our clients, ask that they share all of their successes and the hurdles they have to overcome, plus provide us with annual financial reporting. Second last slide, I think this is. So just, I told you about the process, but who do we serve? So any existing business or startup, as I said, in almost all industries, and we're happy to do the focus on the agricultural industry with Fair Finance Fund. We provide loans, and one differentiator to a lot of the financing available is that we provide operating lines. And a lot of the times, other lenders who provide startup financing might not do that, but want to see that you have access to some cash flow, operating cash flow. So that's where we can be of help. We provide financing from $2,500 to $250,000. And again, a lot of the other institutions don't provide lower financing. I know D will talk about their threshold, and I think it starts at 20,000. So we can look at a smaller line of credit, maybe in a partnership when an applicant looks for financing. We've got competitive interest rates, but they depend on credit analysis, of course. Amortization is normally set up for 5 years, but we can do also up to 10 years for larger amounts. There are no application or administration fees, so there's nothing you have to pay up front to apply for our financing with us or an application. The only cost to a client are really the security registration and legal work. So if there is paperwork which has to be done by our lawyer, then the fees for that come from the proceeds of the financing. And after 90 days, all our loans are open. There's no early repayment penalty. So flexibility really there to work with any business in Niagara. So that concludes mine. I don't know if I kind of breezed through it or if I did over the time, but if you want to reach out to me, here's my contact information, and looking forward to hearing from everyone.
Susan, I think you're muted, but I think we can just hand it right over to Dee.
I know I'm muted. I didn't notice. I didn't mute myself. So the gods of mute. So thank you, Volker. I always love that presentation. Of course, I'm quite partial to it, working for Venture Niagara. But we're going to go directly into Dee's presentation and see how the Fair Finance Fund supports Ontario food and farm businesses. So go ahead, Dee.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we're so excited to be here with Venture Niagara today to kind of explore collaborations and things. And there's so many synergies between the two organizations. So we're really grateful to bring this information to everyone who's attending today. So who we are, the Fair Finance Fund, and we have a strong focus on supporting the food and farming industry within Ontario, and really specific to social enterprises within this sector. So there is the land acknowledgement that we went through earlier. So I'll just kind of briefly pass through the slides so you can see, but we'll move on to the next part. So as I mentioned, the Fair Finance Fund has a focus on food and farm enterprises within Ontario. So this can include, for-profit businesses, but also co-ops, nonprofits, but really organizations that have a focus on a mission. So some sort of social purpose behind what they do. And many people may not think they have a social purpose, but when you really nail it down, for example, with farmers, they are providing nutritious food to their community. And although they may not think of themselves as a social entrepreneur, there's so much value that's there. So throughout the presentation, we'll have photos of our beautiful loan clients who are doing great work within Ontario. And for example, here there's a fishery in Northern Ontario, and they are able to actually take a bunch of the fish from really remote places in Northern Ontario and different Indigenous villages and bring it down and purchase from them. So there's a lot of people doing really cool stuff within Ontario in the food sector, and that's who we really have a focus on supporting. So similar to Venture Niagara, we do support startup costs, equipment, expansion activities, and more than that as well. But a couple of things that we also do are we have mentorship available to our loan clients. So we offer 10 hours of free mentorship to our loan clients. And these are people who actually have experience in food and farming. For example, they may be have a background as a market gardener, but also financing as well. So people who have a really interesting mix of expertise, and we're able to help them with that. We also do a lot of work doing kind of online events as well as in-person events. So things like this today, but we also provide a lot of workshops where we bring in people who have a background in financial planning or business planning, marketing, digital marketing, different things that we're able to provide to people who maybe aren't even a loan client or have services from us, but are looking for some more information and educational experiences. So we are able to offer that as well. And really, we also have, partners within the sector. So, for example, with Venture Niagara, but also partners like EFAO, the Ecological Farmers Association of Ontario, if people are familiar, and the Rural Agri-Innovation Network. So that's kind of a brief overview of what we do. But really, our main focus is our lending program, where we provide access to funds. What makes us a bit different than your average kind of bank and things is the way that we actually have capital that we're able to disperse. So we have a community bond model, meaning that how we have all our capital in the fund is that we have investors who may be community members, people who have an extra $5,000 that they want to invest, and they want to invest it in their community, or it could be foundations or bigger institutions. So it's really a range of people and organizations within Ontario or Canada that want to make a difference in the local food system and really support local networks of this food system. So all of our capital actually comes from like-minded investors within the sector, and they provide their capital to the fund, and that's how we're able to actually disperse loans out to our loan clients. So it's a bit of a different model, but it's a really interesting one. And it's been really great so far for us. Yeah, so this is kind of an overview of how we are able to raise capital and who can invest as well. We also have first loss capital, which means that individuals, we have a certain amount that is granted, meaning that it is not needed to be repaid to our investors. So that's a really good cushion there for us as well. So, so up until 2023, we have dispersed over $2.5 million in loans and placed about 35 loans. So we actually, our first year was in 2019 when we gave out our first loan. So it's been about, we're in our fourth year now in 2023. And over this time, we now have an assets under management of over $2.7 million. And we also track different indicators in terms of the impact that our loan clients are making. And one of these that we've been able to track is the number of jobs that has been created. And that number is 237 over these 4 years. So you're going to see something very similar to what was on Volker's slide, thinking about what it makes a good loan client in character-based lending. So really, as Volker mentioned, we're looking at the character. What is the passion behind what your organization is and what you're doing, as well as looking at your commitment to repay. Do you have plans in place? All those kinds of things. We also do look at your capacity as well as credit and things like that. So I'll just move over that one because Volker already looked at that. And here are a few more details about our mentorship program. So as I mentioned, we have 10 free hours that are provided to our loan clients when they become a loan client of mentorship. We also provide this mentorship outside of loan clients. So for example, you are looking for, you're not looking for a loan, but you're looking for support and you're a agri-food business within Ontario. We also have a pay for fee service. So when you're not a loan client, you would pay for the service, but it does match you up with someone who has expertise in the field of agri-food and specifically tailored to your needs. So for example, you are a farm, you may not have a background in business planning. So you're looking for someone to help you really with your business planning, as well as your maybe your marketing or financial planning, things like that. Or for example, say you have, you were working for years as an academic, and now you want to start a food business or a farm, and you don't really know much about that industry. You're looking for knowledge about that industry. So this is where our pool of advisors can really come in to help individuals kind of get that leg up. So this is a slide just to kind of go over what is a bit different about a fair finance fund loan. Some of these things are similar to what is at Venture Niagara as well, to keep that in mind. Things like no fees, a competitive interest rate, as well as we also do technical assistance throughout the loan and actually before people are applying. So when people apply, we have workshops to help the individuals who are part of the application process go through things like the business plan, the cash flows, that they may not have a background doing that. So we actually do offer that technical assistance before the loan and some during as well. So what's different again is the structure of the kind of loan that you'd be getting, because it's individuals who are in your community or institutions who are focused on supporting the agri-food industry, who are the investors into the fund. When you are repaying your loan, really your interest that you're paying is actually going back into those people. So it's a really interesting model. It's because you're not only helping yourself, and you're also helping other individuals, which is a bit different than a banking model where your money's kind of going to a bank. It's really getting funneled into other individuals. So that's a really interesting way, interesting thing about the loan as well. And similar here, loan payments are also supporting other local food and farm enterprises as they come back into the fund, and we can expand that as well. Yeah, so that's a bit of the main things that we offer, as well as the mentorship that I mentioned, as well as we do marketing and promotions of our loan clients. So you may have seen the beautiful photos that were through the the presentation, and we have the opportunity to actually go to our loan clients' places, their maybe their farms or their food businesses, and actually take beautiful photos and post that on our social media and through our networks as well. So we love to champion our loan clients and really help them succeed. So at this point, this is a bit of a breakdown of where our loan clients are within Ontario, and you can really see it's pretty even across 20 to 25, or I guess Northern Ontario is 29%. So we really do offer our services throughout all of Ontario. And this is a bit of a breakdown of our current loan client type, so what type of business they are. And you'll notice that almost half of our portfolio is farms, just because we have a lot of expertise surrounding that, but we also support, from field to fork. So you don't have to be a farm to apply. We have markets, breweries, restaurants, all individuals and businesses that are focused on supporting Ontario's local food system in some way or another. So an overview of our loans in general. So we offer from $20,000 to $200,000 in loans, and our current rate is 6.25. To note that might change in the future with in the next month to around 7, but nothing's been decided yet, but that is a note to take into account. And we also offer a 3-month grace period. So oftentimes when it's an agri-food business, you might be purchasing equipment with your loan, and it takes time for be able to get the capital to purchase the equipment and then actually be utilizing it in your business to see those benefits and increases in revenue that you might see from making that investment. So we understand that, and we offer a 3-month grace period as well. So meaning you won't have any payments for 3 months after the loan is dispersed. And then that allows a bit of a time for those increased revenues to occur. We also don't take collateral under 100,000. So we only take collateral above 100 to 200. And our payment period is similar to Venture Niagara, 5 years. One thing that's different about what we do as well, though, is we also collect information about our loan clients, such as the amount of jobs that they've provided throughout the year, the amount of food sales, things like that, because we're looking to understand the impact that our loan clients are making in their communities and to be able to actually communicate this to our investors. So a big piece of why we do this is to not only to prove to ourselves and understand really, okay, what impact are we making, but also it helps to demonstrate the value of this model of social finance, and helps to encourage people to know, oh, you have this option to invest sustainably in your community. So it's a really powerful tool to understand what impact they're making and then to communicate that. So this is just a brief overview on kind of our impact. For example, there's environmental benefits such as reduced food miles because people are selling locally, as well as improved soil health through organic regenerative methods, or purchasing from local suppliers versus from people overseas. It's also been shown to have $4 of impact for every dollar invested. So that's a pretty powerful number there. I'll just go over a couple of quick examples here. And one of these is one of our loan clients is Ottawa Market. So they started and applied as Dundurn, but we're opening a new market, Ottawa Market in Hamilton, Ontario. And through the loan, they're able to purchase equipment and inventory and actually help the opening of Ottawa Market. And the impact of this is that it was able to encourage reduced fuel use, as well as they do community engagement through events and increase regional procurement, because Ottawa Market has a big focus on procuring from local and organic farmers in their region, and local artisans and local producers. So they have kind of a multiplying effect throughout their region where they're located in Hamilton and kind of throughout Ontario. Another one of our loan clients is Humble Bee, and they are also in the Hamilton region. And the Fair Finance Fund was able to support their ability to increase equipment and their capacity to supply really high sales volumes because of the nature of what they're providing, such as you'll see here, there's a lot of wood, which is making the beehives. So they were selling those, and they needed essentially to be able to buy the wood to buy them and to sell them. But they also do sell honey, which is their main thing. And they also do training for organizations and individuals on how to keep bees. So you'll see here, this is a photo of them actually doing some training with some individuals on how to be beekeepers and tend to the bees. So it's a pretty powerful model that they have. So through the financing, they're able to kind of support their community engagement, as well as bees in general are supportive of plant biodiversity. And they're able to increase their ability to purchase from local suppliers for the equipment and supplies that they used. And these are just a slide just to kind of go over other financing that's available. We can send out these slides afterwards if people are interested, but I think we're close on time, so I'll just gloss over this one, that there's other financing and grants available that we also work with. Similar to Venture Niagara, we can work in tandem with other organizations throughout this. This is an overview of our application process. So we do have a cohort model, meaning we have set intake periods during the year where people put in a preliminary application, and then they are put into a cohort where if they're approved, where they now get all the documents to fill out for a full application, which is more in depth, including things like a business plan and cash flow. And we provide support during that time for that. And just this kind of goes over some of the full application things that are required. Like I mentioned, the big things here being, cash flow forecasts, business plan, really getting to understand what the business is focused on and how they plan to repay the loan. So here we have my second to last slide, which is just the contact information for the Fair Finance Fund. So my own email there, as well as all of the emails here you can contact and will get directed towards me in some way. So yeah, if you're interested in anything that we have going on in terms of loans or mentorship or all the things that we offer, feel free to reach out. And my last slide is just a thank you to all of our partners and funders, of which Venture Niagara should be on here, but this is an old slide, so but it should be there. And so just want to say thank you to all of our partners and funders, and also to Venture Niagara for including us in today's presentation. We're so excited to continue this partnership and to provide this information for everyone today. So with that, I'll say thank you, and I'll be done my part.
Thank you, Dee. When you look at these two presentations, you see how the role that we play in economic development and stimulating those jobs and those jobs maintained. I know that our numbers are pretty high and we're very proud of those things. So it's nice to get to know Fair Finance Fund a little deeper in the last couple of months with our developing this webinar. At this point, I don't see any questions in the chat. So if you want to raise your hand and you've decided, oh, I have a burning question, there are no bad questions. We're here to help. We're here to get the word out, and we're really happy to see these federations and associations online as well, so that you can move this information in your newsletters or in your own meetings. Have your folks get in touch with Deirdre or Volker. And if you have any hands up, I don't see any hands up. So I just want to thank Volker and Dee, certainly for your presentations, and to Jessica for our technical support, which was even during the planning of the session. So we're really appreciative to you. And thanks to both Sally Miller from Fair Finance Fund and of course my director, Frank Rupsek, for basically making this connection. I think it gives Volker a lot of an extra tool in his toolbox, and it gives Dee an extra tool in her toolbox when she's out talking to farms and food producers and potential loan clients. And we hope you've enjoyed this session. It was new for us at Venture Niagara to partner with Fair Finance Fund, and that the information is of value to you and to all of you. And you don't hesitate to contact Dee or Volker. You'll see you can go to their websites or email addresses deirdre@fairfinancefund.org or Volker, that's Volker. He's the only Volker in Ontario, so you can't lose track of him, at ventureniagara.com. Oh, I think there's something in the chat. I caught something. What do we see? Oh, it's Deirdre's email address. So Volker, you can put that in. The session was recorded as well. And so we just want to thank you, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with either Sally Miller or Frank Brusik as well if you want information on our organizations. We thank you all for being here today, and wish you, I hope it's sunny everywhere, but it's certainly sunny here in Niagara. So have a nice sunny day.